Okay, so we are back for part two, and we're going to jump into how to make this thing work. So first of all, love my form, hate my form, change my form. I don't care. It works, but I know that some people hate that it's in a Google Sheets because it doesn't just edit pretty. I'll send you this form if you guys, again, ask me for it. I don't think I linked this. Um, put it in a doc, put it on whatever you want, put it somewhere. It puts the technological piece, it puts the framework in front of you guys so that you can learn the order. Then again, this is all Jenny's opinion, but I can tell you through I think I've been using this form for 6 years now. My trainees who use this form and do this form and have that aha moment of that they can really prove that pretty much anything they're doing is ABA, or they can show themselves how to fix what they're doing so that it includes more of the 7 dimensions. They are my rock star trainees. And the ones who go, I don't need that, are my trainees that are going to pass their exam and they're going to go do the thing and they're going to go help some families. But they're not my wow trainees who I think are going to go like rock their world. So I really, 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 with all that's in my heart, think that this is this important, which is why we're here. Okay. So we're going to go through this. I'm going to give you a Jenny example, and then we're going to go through a you example. So I can make this a little bigger. Yes, no. And so as we're going through this, feel free to scribble on your pages. I want it just a little bigger. Oh, that's the wrong way to go. There. I know you can't see the whole form, but that's okay because I can make it slide and you'll be able to see it. All right. Crystal, welcome. You are jumping in just at our halfway point. Let me see. Hold on. Can she hear me yet?
Jenny, sorry. I'm gonna turn my camera off though too, because we got crazy stuff going. But thanks.
You look great. Thank you for your service. Yes. So you missed the first hour of what all these columns mean. They're going to be familiar to you, but don't feel overwhelmed because you're coming in halfway. You'll be able to go back and look at the other. Okay, guys, so we're going to jump into this. The way the form is set up, right? You've got the 7 dimensions across the top. They're listed out there, and I know on my screen they're small or they're off the page, but all 7 are there. Okay. Oh, that's cool. I wonder if that's really my graph that's linked in there. I couldn't find that this morning. I cracked myself up. The next column is those kind of layperson definitions that we just went over. So what each one of these are. And then the third column are those questions that I said, ask yourself this, right? When you're looking at your program to see if it's truly ABA, these are those questions. So everything's right there for you. Barbara, I keep muting you because I'm getting some feedback from somewhere, and that's all that I can figure out that it is. So when you want to say something, please feel free to jump back in. So that's the setup of the form. And then, yes, it's chronological. You start on column A and you work your way across, okay? So I'm going to give you my example, right? This was May of last year. This is my job. I do supervision. At the end of each month, I have to close out everybody's forms, make sure we got the hours, the observations, all those audit proof your hours things that we do. So I close out one month and then I start the next month and make sure that everything is prepped so that when you guys want to log your hours, when you want to look at your invoice, when you want to know what your schedule is, all of your documents are in your drive. We don't go on vacation at the end of the month. Because Jenny just, it doesn't happen, right? I go on vacation and close out one month and open the next month. And as efficiently as I have streamlined this, I have trackers for everything, you guys. I have OBM'd, I have ABA'd my business so that somebody else could come in and close out a month. I just feel so responsible for making sure that it's perfect that even when I go back and have somebody do it, I go back and look at the whole thing to make sure it's right. And I'm like, why am I paying you to so I can come back and look at it anyway? That's not what we're talking about. So here's my scenario. So I want you guys to think about your scenarios. Mine is I got to close 1 month and open the next month. The next column talks about who am I looking at? This is Jenny. There is nobody else playing this game with me. It is just me. And so I'm going to track that across. Okay. What behavior am I looking at? So my behavior, observable, measurable. Jenny will complete all of the documents and the hours by the last day of the month at 10 p.m. for 12 out of 12 months. Had to give myself a little wiggle room, right? 10 p.m., you can do it. And what I noticed was over here, my scenario was open and close on the same line. I couldn't do that because I had different criteria. So I had to make 2 lines. So I'm going to close out by the last day of the month at 10 p.m., but I'm going to open the month 2 days before the last day of the month at 10 p.m. You're like, what's the difference? Well, I can't audit your hours until the last day of the month. But if I wait until the last day of the month to start opening all the documents, I couldn't get it done. It took more time than that. Or I got called somewhere, something happened, and then May 1st, June 1st started and your invoice wasn't up, or June 1st started and your schedule wasn't up. And so I had to split these 2 out because it was 2 separate behaviors. Okay. So we're just going to take this top one. I'm going to close out the last day of the month, everybody's hours, paperwork, audit your stuff by 10 p.m. on the last day of the month. Who is this important to and why? This is our applied. So it's important to Jenny to make sure that the paid for hours have been provided. It's important to Jenny to make sure that observations have been completed because it's a wash if an observation wasn't done or if Jenny gets a recording and didn't watch it. And so it's been sitting in my drive for 2 weeks. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's the last day of the month. I got to watch that thing and give feedback. So that's why I got to do the audit. It's important to Jenny to make sure that everything's recorded for you guys, right? If the board wants to audit our stuff, do we have everything where it needs to be? It's also important to the trainee to make sure that the quantity and the quality of the supervision services are being maintained and obtained. Okay, so I think doing all this paperwork checks that box of being applied. It's important. What about technological? Is this thing line itemed out enough that anybody could come in here and do the stuff? Now, I can show you my tracker where I track what needs to get done and the dates that I do it. I'm not going to take the time to do that until we get to the graph because I think it's on there. But I've got everything that I'm looking for line itemed out. And then I have someplace else because it's useless on the same form, all the things I'm supposed to be doing to make sure that that gets done, right? Because making the hours page isn't simply making the hours page. Making the agenda isn't simply making the agenda. It's clearing off this and doing this. And my trainees, right? They've added task list I, all about how to be a good supervisor. And so my trainees start being in charge of all the paperwork in their last couple of months of supervision. And so they got a little task list that said, these are the 5 things that you're responsible for. When Jenny says, copy the agenda, it's not just copy the agenda, it's do these 5 things. So there are technological for everything. So I have trackers, I have task analyses, all of that stuff. And so I'm going to say, yes, my repeatable procedure is written down somewhere. And to make the form work, because this is part of supervision, my trainees would link their tracking sheet here for me. I tell them if I have to go look for it, I'm not looking for it. You got to put it where Jenny can find it, right? Okay, next one. We're still looking at what Jenny's doing by the last day of the month to close everything out, audit proof your hours. What are the conceptually systematic interventions from our literature, from our research that I have incorporated into this process for Jenny? This is not for you guys. This is to get Jenny to do this by the last day of the month. What do? I use visuals. I use a bucket ton of reinforcement for myself. I use pairing. I don't have my bright light on. I have my little heater blanket on my lap. I have my coffee or tea when I'm going to do this. Um, Maybe some pre-macking. I've got some music going on, something that I like while I do this. I'm using self-monitoring. That's been shown 1,000 times that if I, do my tracking and check myself off, my data collection, all of my stuff is conceptually systematic. So these are those pieces that are beyond that task analysis, beyond those steps that turn this into a program that make the thing work and show us that it's ABA. Now, when my trainees start this process, this usually says reinforcement and visuals. And I'm like, it's a good start. And as they go along, they start adding more and more and more and more into the conceptually systematic piece of the programs that they're running, the activities that they're doing every day to prove that it's good ABA. I would recommend making a list. We have a shared document that we finally got organized and started having all of my trainees contribute. What are those conceptually systematic pieces that you run so that they're all in one place? And if you're going to write a program, you can go click on that Google Doc that we've shared and say, oh, that's right. Oh yeah, I do that one. Oh, that's in here. Oh yeah, that's in here. And you can just have this nice list that you pull stuff from. So definitely conceptually systematic, and then analytic, right? Where our decisions have to be data-based. So where's the data being collected? I am going to click on this now and see if it is actually something. Oh, that's cool. It is. Okay. I love this. I couldn't find this. You guys, Jenny's so organized and couldn't find the silly thing. It's right where I said to put it. Love it when I do smart things. So we're going to take a look at this, right? Because this is part of my technological. I'm tracking. Did I watch the observation? Did I create an invoice? Did I create an agenda? Did I sign their form? All of these things. I'm putting the dates that I did the thing, and I'm collecting some data. And so this is my data sheet. I said, wow, that's great. And then I got to the part that says, is it effective? And I tried to go, well, let's just do this and select my data and make a chart. So you remember how the guy zapped his thing because it wasn't working right? Well, this is where Jenny realized that the data that I was collecting, where it was practical for me to know that I was audit proofing your hours, it wasn't even graphable. And I was like, well, that was kind of a fail. So I'm trying to get an example for you guys of what was what. And I had to go back and totally rework my data. And so what I started doing was counting the parts and pieces and putting some percentages in here so that I could just go grab it and make it work for you guys, make it work to show you that a program was happening or not happening. And then I was like, okay, well, this is good, but now is it helpful, right? The little guy with his laser vision would come in here to June and zap this program and say, oh my gosh, we have totally tanked after 2 solid months up above 80%. We got to go fix this. And my question for you guys, and this is not rhetorical, I would love an answer. If you looked at June from this graph, would you know what to try and go in and fix? The blue line is totals completed by the 11 p.m. of the last day of the month, and the totals completed by 11 p.m. 2 days prior. Would you know what to fix? Yes or no?
The red line, your 2 days prior.
Yeah. Does this data show you? So what it says is that I'm not completing getting your documents ready by 2 days prior to the end of the month. Would you know how to fix that from this data, or what to even start looking at?
Go back and find the dates that you are preparing that. And you might find that it's the day before or the day after. Maybe.
Maybe. Would you know what I'm not getting done? It's not a trick question. It's not a good question, but it's not a trick question. So my answer would be no. Looking at this, so yes, Barbara, you're correct. I'm not getting that orange red line, the opening up the following month. I'm not getting that done 2 days prior, which again, it doesn't have to be there till the first day of the next month, but my personal goal is to get it done 2 days prior. I don't know why. I got to open like 5 documents for you guys. I don't know which ones I'm not getting done. I just know that something's not getting done. And so again, when we say we've got to take some data, we've got to graph the data, and the data is going to tell us whether we're effective or not. Yes, this says that Jenny is not effective, but does it tell me where to even start looking? So I would say no. And I went back and I changed how I collected my data and broke it down even further so that, again, if I want somebody else to do this, or if I'm going to train somebody else to do this, tracking your data should help you know what to train. This doesn't tell me what to train. I had to go back and do a whole nother review to figure out what to train. So let me see, go back to our form over here. We were on analytic and effective. So analytic, where's it being collected? I showed you all those columns, and the columns weren't functional. So I showed you the 2 lines of the yellow and green. So I finally was able to graph something. But again, even that graph wasn't showing me quite enough of what was happening. So I know I had to go back and tweak the program. But then our last column of generalization says, have we set up these systems in such a way that they're practical enough that Jenny will use trackers and dates and these conceptually systematic pieces, this program, if you will, someplace else? And Barbara, you know me, I put trackers everywhere. So I'm going to say that, yes, we are generalizing. I'm learning to schedule tasks all over the place. I'm learning to complete different schedules and log on the tracker for other personal and professional items and activities. So even simply learning to make Google Sheets work, because I'm an Excel baby. But using Google Sheets was, a generalization process for me that has served me really well in supervision. And so now if somebody were to say to me, because there is this line in our what's acceptable and what's not acceptable hours, there's a line that says what does not count as hours is things like billing or non-behavior analytic billing or job duties or tracking or something like that. I don't know what it says. And so somebody says to me, well, Jenny, I'm running my own business. I'm not in an autism clinic, but I'm doing this thing, and I'm finding that I'm spending about 5 hours at the end of every month closing out my month and then opening up my next month so that I can run my business. I would really love to know if I could count that towards those 2,000 ABA hours, because over time, that's a lot of hours. And I go, I don't know, run it through a get a cab. Are you doing all these parts and pieces? And they go, well, no, I'm not. Right? I don't have it split out behaviorally to something I can measure. Totally, it's important to me, but no, it's not technological. I don't have these task analyses. I don't have these trackers of where these go. Conceptually systematic, no, I just make myself do it, right? There's no reinforcement, there's no pairing, there's no pre-map. And so we've identified all the reasons why it's not ABA and you can't count it. Well, we've also identified all of the ways that you can make it ABA and start tracking this stuff on your task analyses, on your tracker, on your finding what data you can capture and graph and look at. And now we've just given you all these parts and pieces of how to make this ABA or OBM it, however you want to call it. And now I've got my trainees that can count these 5 hours a month that they do this thing. So you guys starting to see how maybe there are things that you do in your world that you don't realize are ABA, or that you could run through and fill in some of these gaps and actually ABA the thing and start counting it towards your hours. And if you don't need it for your hours, you could at least start being a surgeon everywhere and not just being a surgeon in the operating room, right? You can be a behavior analyst, not just when you're being a behavior technician, but actually when you're doing real world things that will help other real world people. See, I got goosebumps, you guys. I am such a nerd. I just love this stuff. This is why I do what I do. Okay, so now, because again, behavior skills training says, we've got to try and do this thing together. And Barbara, I know you've done this before, so I'd love to see if one of our other participants, do you have a scenario that you would be willing to jump on here and let me walk you through this on? Maybe you have filled it out on your paper and you realize, wow, I've got a whole bunch of gaps. Jenny, can you help me fill in these gaps? Who wants to be brave and participate and share? And don't make Barbara do this. She has to do this 3 times a week minimally now that she's almost graduating. So I want somebody else to come on here and say, yeah, this is this thing that I do. How does that work? And I'm nice. I help you through it. Well, Barbara, you might have to do it again for me.
Come on, ladies. This is a great learning opportunity. Don't be scared. Just try it. That's what I did. Just try it.
Just do the thing. I have one or two that just said they stepped away. That's okay. We're just going to go ahead. Okay. So Barbara, what is something you've been wondering? Is it ABA?
You know that I'm returning to the classroom to teach a self-contained classroom with a mixture of elementary and middle school, fifth to eighth grade. So my behavior is looking at
Hold on.
off-task.
Yeah. Okay. Keep going.
Okay. Off-task behavior during independent work time and measuring it by recording the frequency and the duration of the off-task incidents throughout the day.
Okay, hold on. I know you want to just go ahead and fill in all the boxes, but so for the recording and our participants, we're going to break this down. So the scenario is new SPED classroom, independent work
Self-contained, yes, independent work.
time. And I don't take off for spelling. Okay. And so whose behavior are we looking at? And I'm going to ask you to look at yours, Barbara, because I know we're doing this to get our kids doing something, but I want to know what Barbara is going to do during independent work time. So during independent work time, what do you want to have happen? What do you want Barbara to do?
I'm making sure that I'm taking note if there are any off-tasks behaviors with the students. Who's not working? What are they doing? Why are they not working? You know, what are the parents doing when the kids are working? Are they walking around to make sure, you know, reinforcing, oh, good job, Johnny. You're really doing really good with that. You know, if it's just writing our morning warm-up, you know, it's a good example. Morning warm-up to make sure everyone is doing what they need to do. The ones that can't write, that need help, they're actually saying, I need help. And then that's where, you know, we would actually write in their journal. So everyone should be working.
Okay.
No one should be off task.
Okay, so you're identifying the students who are not doing the class task. Okay, how are you going to measure this? You're going to see them, and what do you do with that information?
I'm going to make note of if they were off task that day. So maybe they were off task on Monday, because Monday's is a bad day. Probably a lot of people are going to be off task on Monday.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
My turn. How are you going to count these students who are off task? What are you counting about that?
They're not working. That goes back to the definition, a functional definition of what is off task during this time.
Yeah.
So are they not participating in the on-task assignment of writing, filling out their prompt for the morning?
Okay, so they're supposed to be filling out their morning journal, and you have a class of 10, and you look out there and you go, okay, of my 10, give me a number. What are you counting?
Of my 10, realistically, I would like to see 6.
Not what you want to see. What are you counting?
What am I
And
counting?
so here's the deal, because this is where all of my trainees go. They want to tell me all the things that are happening, but this must relate back to Barb. So Barb is going to see the students, and then I need to know how you're going to count it. Are you going to say who's off task for more than 5 minutes? Are you going to say how many of my 10 kids are on task with one prompt? Are you going to say every 5 minutes of morning journal, I'm going to do a momentary time sampling and say, da 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 da, boom, okay, we got it. Are we going to do a whole group contingency that when I say bing in my head every 5 minutes, either the whole class is on, the whole class is off? How are you going to count so that you have a graphable piece of number that's going to be meaningful for you?
I think realistically, since I'm coming back into the classroom after being out since November and being a teacher, this is all wonderful and great. But when you're in that classroom and there's so many different things going on at one time, I'm just going to think, okay, with one prompt, how many kids are working?
Okay, so Barbara will identify students who are not doing the class task, and provide one verbal, visual. Let's go with verbal prompt to return to work and note number out of 10 kids working.
Yes.
Okay, so now I have observable and measurable. I'm going to find the kids. I'm going to provide one prompt to the class. And oh, that's not a number. That's supposed to be a number sign. What did I say? Prompt to return to work and note the number out of the 10 kids who are working. So I'm not sure I did that right, because what you said was you wanted to know the kids who were not working. And I just said, we're going to count how many kids are working. So which is more helpful to you? How many kids out of 10 are working, or how many kids out of 10 are not working?
Probably are working.
Okay, cool. So now let's move on. So we've got our behavior, and I've made it so that this stuff will stay, because everything on this row has to relate back to Barb doing this behavior at this time. So who is this important to, and why? Why do we care?
I care because this is going to be increasing their academic learning, that I have their attention, and what I'm asking them to do is clear and precise, and that they can do it.
Okay, that's what you're going to do. But why is tracking how many kids out of 10 are working? Who cares how many kids are working? Just present your class, right? And you're going to say, no, Jenny, that's dumb. Right. So why is counting how many kids are working? Why is that important?
Because that's increasing their academic learning. Yeah,
so we're going to, right, we want their learning time to increase. Why else?
And how proficient I am with what I'm doing.
Yes.
That's where I get tricked up all the time. Yes, I get tricked up with remembering it's my behavior, not the kids.
It's you, right? All right. Now, it may be important to your district. It may be important to the students for some reason, but we're just going to keep going for time's sake. Because maybe once we do this, somebody else is going to say, "Ooh, I want to do one." So technological. Now, again, all I want to know is during journal time, what is the process for Barb figuring out how many out of these 10 kids are working?
Those that are not leaving their seats.
Okay, what does Barb do? Step 1.
Oh, what am I doing?
Yep.
Oh,
you're gonna look at the kids.
Yes, I'm going to look at the kids, making sure that they have their pencils in hand.
Okay.
And using the pencil on their paper.
Okay, so I would put this under check doing the work, and that is your operational definition of doing the work is pencil in hand, moving on paper.
Yes.
That's a hard one, right? Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Okay. So who's got pencil in hand? You've checked the work. Then what do you do? What's step 3?
Observing them working.
Okay. And then what do you do?
Give them reinforcement. Great job. Everyone's working.
Okay. That's nice. How does that get you the number of kids out of 10?
Hmm. I'm not sure.
Okay, super. So you're looking at the kids. You've got your 10 kids, paper and pencil, paper and pencil, paper. Oh, nope. Paper and pencil, nope. Paper and pencil, paper and pencil, nope. Oh, okay. So I had 3 out of my 10 who were not. That gives me 7 out of 10 who are. So your step 3, it's kind of obvious, which makes it hard. You're just going to count them, right? Whatever method you're going to do to count how many are actually writing. So you've decided that 7 of those kids are actually paper on pencil doing the thing. What do you do with that number? What's your next step?
Taking data.
Yeah, write it down.
Write it down.
And I'm going to go back here and make number 3 be reinforce kids working. And then we're going to make number 4 be count it. And number 5 is going to be write it down. Simple. Okay. And you guys, part of you are sitting here saying, I have to write that down. I'm going to say, yes, you have to write that down. Now, you don't write it down every day, but to prove that when you do this program every day, you're following these steps, you do the process of doing the task analysis, showing that it's technological. And when you have a sub who comes in, but you are trying to track your classroom data so that you can justify that extra para is needed, they need to take this data for you. Do you think a SPED teacher could come in here and at 10:15, look at the kids, check who has pencil in hand moving on paper, reinforce them with a yay, count how many that was, and write it down? Yes, but not if you don't have this written down for them. If your funding for your department depends on having these 5 steps, then yes. And if you want to do good ABA and not just brilliant special ed, and count this towards your 2,000 hours and prove it to the board and your supervisor, then you should have this written down that this is what you do at 8:05 every morning. Okay, conceptually systematic. So Barbara, you have these 5 steps that you're going to do at 8:05 every morning during journal time. What extra stuff are you going to add in to support Barbara in doing this check at 8:05 in the morning?
Task analysis.
Yep, you're going to have the steps. What else?
Positive reinforcement for me.
Yep.
You know, that's a wow. Thumbs up, Barbara.
Way to go, baby. You got it done today.
Yeah, exactly.
What else? How do you know to do it at 8:05?
Oh, because I have a timer.
Sure, maybe a timer.
Or just it's structure. You know,
it's on the schedule.
Right. Oh,
right.
Yeah,
this is what we do. It's on the schedule. So that might be a visual.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So again, this is a tiny little thing. So this may be all that we need to prove that the parts and pieces of our program really are ABA. Now, if we're going to go and say, at 8:05, we're going to do this check, then we could probably even put in there that momentary time sampling so that when the timer goes off, we look at everybody and go, yay. So you could get as technical as you want in this conceptually systematic piece. I don't know that your SPED director is going to care, but your supervisor sure might. We like those words. Okay. Analytic. Where are you taking your data for this wonderful thing that we're doing?
On a data sheet.
Yeah. And because we have done the task analysis, that task analysis probably becomes your data sheet. Again, when that sub shows up, you don't want them to have to find the 5 steps and find the data sheet and find the timer and find all the stuff. So let's minimize what we need. If the 5 steps are written out just like this, put some couple little columns on there and go plus, 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 plus. Yay, did it.
Exactly.
Did the thing. All right, where are you going to graph this?
Now, that's my struggle is with graphing. So when you say, where am I going to graph it?
Yeah, on my Google sheet,
Yeah, on my Google sheet.
on your Excel, on your tablet, on your can't remember what other programs are out there. Motivity will graph, and all these different little apps do your graphing. I love you guys to do pencil and paper, because one day, and I'm a prepper conspiracy theorist, but one day the web is going to go blank and all our stuff's going to be gone, right? So know how to graph on a piece of paper, know how to sit in a kitchen with a mom and grab the pen, and on her napkin while you're having coffee during your caregiver share time, you just sketch out your little XY and your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and 2, 6, 8, 10, 12, and draw the line and say, Mom, you're doing such a great job. I know you don't track all the stuff that's on my tablet, but I can tell you that you're doing a little better every day, and way to go. So when the battery on the tablet's dead, you still know how to graph and show her that it's being effective. Barbara's making this beautiful graph. They may not understand all the words, but when she shows up at the school board meeting and says, hey guys, we need more funding for this, and here's my picture. Look, day 1 of school, day 100, first 100 days of school. Look at how many kids are either on task or still off task because I don't have enough manpower or whatever, right? So you've got this beautiful graph that says it. So now, Barb, you're doing all sorts of stuff. You're looking at your kids. You're measuring this stuff on a momentary time sample. You're doing task analyses. You're taking data. You're tracking all the stuff. You're advocating for your kids. Outside of journal time, making sure kids are on, how many kids are on or off task during journal time. Where might you use some of these strategies?
In other classes, my
Yes.
other subjects, in the hall, sharing this possibly with their out teachers.
Yes.
And teaching the paraprofessionals.
Yes. Right? And guys, this is where the gold is. There are not enough of us. So not only do we need to get our learner skills good in our class, but we need to get those learner skills good in other people's classes. Not only do I need to know how to do this, but when I'm walking down the hall and they say, how'd you get a new para? Right? Or how come whatever? And you go, oh, I got 5 steps for that. I got a little data sheet. I took it to the school board. Can you share that? And you go, boom. Yep. Here's the link. So Barb, now again, this is a 10-minute thing for her every day. This is not a massive thing, but something that she wanted to be able to prove was not just good special ed, but was actually good ABA. That took us maybe 15 minutes. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it was 20 minutes. And we walked through this thing. Not bad. So now that you guys have seen this, does anybody else want to give this a try? I was nice to Barb, right? I helped.
Yeah.
I pushed her a little. When you guys are starting to do this, I give you lots of multiple choice options. But she's getting to the point where she's starting to do this way good most of the time. And now we're just going back to some former tasks and having to prove some things. And so we're swapping up how we do this, but we have time to run through one more if somebody else wants to do one. Nope. All right. Then we're going to call this good. So I hope that you guys, as we went through this, tracked along with your paper that you printed out and that you wrote your answers in there, or you wrote my answers, or you wrote Barb's answers in there so that you have an example of how this works, right? Because behavior skills training was Jenny did it, Jenny and Barb did it together, and you guys watched, and now you guys are supposed to do this thing on your own. And that's where the real proof is in the pudding, right? That over time, can you take those activities that you do and translate them into proof of ABA. And so let me just give you a couple more pointers on this form, because some people go, wow, that's so cool. And then some people goes, that just absolutely fried my brain. I can't do that for every activity that I do. So again, let me just clarify how we use this thing and what it can help you guys do. So again, number one, that form is in chronological order. You start on the left and you go across to the right. And what it's supposed to do is match your hours tracker. So that date is on there so that when it says August 24th, 2024, and Barbara wants to count that she spent 15 minutes doing this journal time with her kids as ABA, that on her tracker, it's her hours tracker, it's going to say August 24th, and it's going to say activity was on a journal, morning journal. I don't remember what you called that, Barb, morning journal, whatever. And then she's going to go over on my tracker and she's going to put that under a little bit of assessment and a little bit of program design, right? Because when that timer goes off, she's having to say how many. So she's assessing who's doing it and who's not. She might put it under data collection, wherever. On my chart, I make them tally where the activity time was spent, not just restricted, unrestricted. I know Jenny's crazy, but I'll tell you what, nobody's going to audit my trainees' hours and have any problem saying that it's all totally legit and legal. So it should match, but you only do one activity a day. One activity a day. Barbara is doing 1,000 activities a day in her classroom. I know because I've seen her write them all down, right? We've got this, right? She breaks down every single one, but you pick one a day and you run it through this prove it form. And you only work for 15 minutes. So initially, you might only get the first 2 or 3 columns done. You might struggle to get a good operational behavior definition done. And if you don't get a good behavior definition of what you're going to count and observe, then you can't fill out anything else. You go, I don't know who it's important to because I don't know what I'm doing. So I get that. First month, first 2 columns. Second month, we're moving on to technological, yay. Now you've had a couple of classes done. By your 4th month, you're adding in some conceptually systematic because you learned what these things were in your university coursework. So one activity for 15 minutes, no more. I don't care if you leave me blanks. Blanks show me what I need to teach you because you're not doing it fast enough or you just don't know the answers yet. And so what's cool is that over time, all of those regular activities, every Monday, Barb puts on, actually every day, Monday through Friday, she puts down that she does journal time with her kids. And we can go back and we can search her get a cab form if somebody wants to say that that's not ABA. And we can show them, yep, here's where we lined item it out. And oh, by the way, we took 2 months of data on this just so that you would know what's happening. And here's the tracker, and here's the task analysis, and here's the graph, and here's the stuff. Now, I don't have to take data on that forever if I have systematized myself to do it the same way all the time. But if you want to learn how to take data and graph something, man, take the 5 steps out of journal time. And now you're graphing something that's easy for you to collect the data on. And then, so you've got all your activities that you've listed, restricted, unrestricted, on your hours tracker, have now been proven out on this prove it form. And you're great at filling it out. You can type this stuff in maybe 7 minutes. It's just easy for you. And now that all the easy stuff is done, you start going, what about that thing? Can I ABA that? And you go, oh, I can go back and run that through that form. What are the parts and pieces that I need? Barb's doing a nonprofit thing. Barb's doing a this. Barb's doing a that. Jenny's writing a book. You better believe it's on a get a cab form somewhere. And then let me just fry your brain just a little bit more. By the time they've been in supervision for a year, maybe a year and a couple months, I make them get out their phone and click that little button that will send me an audio text. And they have to speak this thing. And it's horrible, Barbara, right? It is horrible. I can't understand a word that you're saying. It takes you 15 minutes to talk to your phone, and it sucks. It's just bad, right? And I'm like, okay, but that's the sped teacher. Hang on, Barbara.
Okay.
That's the sped teacher who meets you in the hallway and says, why are you doing this? Well, you don't go pull up your prove it form, your get a cab form. You have to be able to fluently tell her or him why you're doing what you're doing. And they're going to go, wow, oh my gosh, will you come to the board meeting and tell them that, because that will justify that we pay you double. Right? All the things. This becomes that 3-minute elevator pitch. And when you can do that, then the case conceptualization piece, a parent says, why are we doing this? A technician says, why are we doing this? The head of the aerobics gym, the CrossFit place that you are consulting because their profits are zero, and you come in and you say, okay, we're going to do it like this. And you can give them a little 3-minute, I know you don't get all the words, but this is what we're going to do. And they go, oh, yes, let me write that check, or Zelle you, whatever CrossFit people do. Nobody writes checks. I don't even own checks. So getting this case conceptualization piece down, again, this is why does Jenny do this class? Because I want you guys to be able to prove it. But more than that, I want us to be able to go out there and talk about the awesome things that we are doing as ABA and get us out of this garbage, some far history. I mean, I was 30 years ago sitting with the kid with the potato chips. That was a long time ago in our field. But for some people, that bad ABA is still kind of recent. And so if we can do these 3-minute pitches, why my juicing and my exercise program and my how I study for my exam and how I do all these things tracks across this, and I'm taking my data and I get really efficient at making all this stuff happen, then we can start changing the perception of ABA. Okay. I already said all of that. Questions. We are wrapping this thing up here.
Jen, will
Yes.
you say what we just did on my thing, because it's more thorough than what I have?
Yes. Remind me
Okay.
to do that.
Okay.
Oh, I may have to find the form, but it's in the folder for the class.
Okay. Okay.
Anybody else have questions? I just did great. So closing this out, you're going to get an email. It's going to have a feedback form in it. I would love some good, honest feedback. I want to be able to transition this into CEUs for supervisors. I want to be able to package this in a way that's really practical for you guys as trainees, especially folks at the beginning of their supervision experience, so that they can wrap their brains around, I don't have to be a behavior technician. I think that's going to be the death of our field, but let's have coffee sometime and we'll talk about that when we make people be behavior technicians while they're trying to do all of this stuff. And if you happen to love this and go, oh my gosh, Jenny, this is amazing, I'd pay you $1,000 for this information, and would like to contribute to my venture of getting this information out to people, I'd love you to scan my QR code. Not required at all. Not required at all. If you're watching this recording and you want one free supervision CEU, because the history and stuff, I don't believe that ranks as a CEU. It doesn't go beyond the task list, but I think the case conceptualization piece of this does. So that last hour that we spent going through the form, if you send me a screenshot of your form that you filled out and complete the attestation that you will get when you email me about getting this free CEU, I will send you a free CEU certificate in exchange for your filled out form. You guys probably don't need CEUs. I don't know. And then one last thing for you guys, if you thought this was great, but your brain is going, oh my gosh, that was great, but I just don't know how to do that. I need more support on that. I am going to do a free coaching group. Again, it'll be values based. If you want to contribute, awesome. For the next 3 Thursdays at 5 o'clock Pacific time. So if you're in Denver, that's 6 p.m. If you're in St. Louis, that's 7 p.m. Texas, that's 7 p.m. If you're in New York or Miami, that's 8 p.m. We're going to get together on August 26th, September 5th, and September 12th, and we're going to spend 30 minutes going through this for you. The feedback form, if that's what you're asking, that will come in an email in a couple of minutes. Because I can't get it in the chat link right now. I'm trying to get you guys done in our 2 hours. But if you're interested in this free coaching group, In that email that's going to show up in a few minutes, there's going to be a registration link, and you can pick to come to one or you can pick to come to all three. But let's get together and do this. Go back to work for the next week and go, oh my gosh, I'm counting these hours, but if somebody asked me to prove it, I think I'm missing some things. Let me show up at this group coaching time and talk to Jenny, and we'll brainstorm your task analysis. We'll brainstorm if you're taking the right kind of data. Anything that somebody has said, no, you can't count that, bring that. Okay, so again, the link for this will be in the follow-up email. And stay in touch. I love to know what you guys want to know about so that I can tailor classes for things that are helpful to you. All of my emails, because I didn't want to swap my technology, came from my work email instead of my ConvertKit this time. So you have my email already. Dana, you have a question?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Should I wait? It's about the screenshot I sent you.
I'm sorry, say it again. It's about what?
Yeah, it's about the screenshot I sent you about my supervision. Should I wait when you're done?
Yes, wait till we're finished, because we're
Okay.
almost done with this.
Mhm.
And so I think you guys are all in supervision. If you are and you are super happy with your supervisor and you guys are doing rock star things, then thank you for your time. Watch for that email and ask me for all the cool stuff. I think it's the task list H training that's not in that email. So reply back to that and say, yes, give me that training. But if you want to know about Plus One Solutions, that's my company. I believe that some days we just need that plus one, that one little aha, that one little thing that helps us do better, different, more, faster, better, any of those things. I'd love to tell you just a second about what we do at Plus One Solutions. My website, that's there. I think you guys all have been to the website because that's how you registered. But we do want to support you fully, right? We try and have a community for you guys. So we start with cohorts, right? Barb, I think there are 4 people in your cohort. And we do all the things. We try and help you with your site, your supervisor. We do coaching. We do some exam prep. We pull in all of the board's information. If you're in university, we try and piggyback on what you're doing in university. We start you off on one-on-one sessions because I've got to get you thinking like Jenny thinks about 7 dimensions and how to prove that all the cool stuff you're doing is good ABA. And then we transition into group. And so twice a month, you have opportunity to go to your group and meet with your 3 to 4 other people, talk to people who are in different settings than you are. If you need a client, right? So maybe you're in a school that won't let you record your learners at school, at elementary school or whatever, you can come in and train another RBT or train a parent to do a program or train one of your fellow group members. Maybe not every month, but every other month or so, depending on how many people are in the group. And that's another place that you can get that client time that you need so that Jenny can do observations for you. And I get great feedback that you guys love these kinds of groups and the things that we're covering in group. Your one-on-one time is very targeted to your location, your site, and where you're working. And then group, we follow more of a curriculum. So we start with how do you give and receive feedback? How do you take data? How do you do an assessment? How do you write programs? And how do you supervise? So we cover all of those big things in group, and then you practice them in group. If you came today, I want you to write this down. Promo code, right? Your coupon code is participation. If you want to come talk to Jenny and you want 20% off your entire supervision package, show up with this word, participation. You guys have seen today that I don't like to just blab at you. I want some feedback. And so for participating and giving me your Saturday morning, love you guys. Here's your promo code for 20% off supervision. And if you say, Jenny, this is amazing, what's next? In the email that comes to you in just a few minutes is my calendar link. Just find a time and we'll do a 60-minute free consultation. We'll talk about what I do. I'll show you more of the forms. We'll talk pricing and all of that stuff and help you guys figure out if we really are a best match for supervision. Because just because they're at your job or just because they're assigned to you doesn't mean it's who you want to spend the next 2 years or year and a half learning from. So I do this free consultation for you guys so that you can see if you can handle Jenny for a year and a half. And that's it. So again, thank you for coming. Again, please, let's stay in touch. I am going to stop sharing and I'm going to stop recording.